At this big headline today, it seems like India's beloved Maggie maker is slipping into yet another controversy. It's a report, and this report has come from a Swiss investigative organization. It highlights that the FMCG company Nestle has been adding sugar and honey to some of their infant food products in India and some of the other low and middle income nations as well. But this is in contrast to the products that are sold in the United Kingdom, in the US, in some of the European markets. So after these reports, Nestle India has said that it has reduced the added sugars by up to 30% in its portfolio. And this, they say, has happened over the past 5 years. But the big question is, why did the company adopt these different standards in different geographies that they operate in? Let's get a sense of what's at play over here and what does this say about health standards in our own country. To discuss this, the founder of SelfCare, nutritionist Suman Agarwal, is joining us. Great to have you with us, Suman Agarwal. You know, I want to ask you first, how long has it been known to nutritionists, to pediatricians, to medical professionals who guide mothers that these products that we are talking about actually contain the sugar levels that they do, the kind that are harmful to kids? And what do you see as the real reason why sugar has been added to baby food in the first place?
See, it has always been known that certain brands add sugar to all the doctors and pediatricians in this concerning. But the problem is that the urban population and the doctors are very strict about it. And the trend here is not to give any kind of sugar or salt for that matter for 1 to 2 years to a newborn child till they are 2 years old. But the lobby from Nestle is very strong, as you know. And since I have fed my child when she was young, like 6 months old Nestle Cerelac. So it's a like a product which has everyone has seen on the shelf and it is promoted also heavily. So we know it, but as we see the inactivity in people and the emergence of diabetes and insulin resistance in youngsters and even the elderly. So we know the sugar is a very, very big culprit. Now, what happens is if you think of a mother's milk, which is given, it is sugar free, right? There's no sugar in mother's milk. Then if you give a child a normal milk, there is no sugar in normal milk too, because it contains sugar, which is in form of lactose. So, but when the Cerelac comes, when they're adding sugar, basically they're addicting a child to sugar. And you must know, we think alcohol, we think, of course, cigarettes, but sugar is the most addictive food you can actually lay your hands on. I have seen, like, I have tried to give up sugar, but since I have been introduced to sugar from childhood, it is very, very difficult. So if you are addicting a child from as young as 3 months old, 6 months old, 1 year,
Yes.
giving sugar in every meal,
Yes.
child is going to be addicted for life.
Right.
They will want sugar in every of their food.
Right.
And seeing the incidence of, that India is the diabetic capital of the world,
Correct.
right?
Right.
And now, lately, we have seen India is also the capital for cancer. The maximum number of cancers are happening.
Yes.
So, seeing all these trends, so the trend should
So
be
how
not
does
to
it
add
match
to.
the standards, Suman Agarwal, to other geographies in the world? Because Nestle, it seems, on their own accord, have different standards. There are certain baby food products that don't have the levels of sugar of the same products that are sold in India. Why do you think that's the case? Is the realization that this is bad for us is much more in other geographies? Or has the company decided that this is the route they're going to take?
So, it's very easy for a company to get addicted to any food by adding sugar or caffeine. So, every company will take that route. It is for the country to decide how much sugar they are going to allow. And as per India, actually there is no standard for how much sugar should be allowed in the food, whether it's baby food or adult food. They have strict rules about protein and zinc and other micronutrients like vitamin C. But for this, they have no rule. But as compared to the developed countries, which is UK and Europe, they have very strict rules for every product, whether it is baby food, whether it is ketchup, whether it is aerated drinks, they have a very strict standard. And so that is why they adhere to their rules there. But India, since they are using this easy way out because we don't have rules. But I do agree that understanding the kind of like being a responsible multinational company, it should have come from them, and they should have banned the sugar, not added the sugar to baby food,
Well,
because
there is
babies
responsibility.
require zero sugar
Yes.
in their.
Yes, Suman Agarwal, one takes your point that the responsibility is with a company as well. But what about our own checks and balances? We do have food security and standards over here as well. Yes, we haven't really demarcated what levels of sugar are acceptable in our foods. But Rekha Agarwal, consumer advocate, is joining us as well. Do weigh in on this. How responsible a role do you think, Rekha Agarwal, has the FSSAI played through this? The government is stepping in now, but as a system of checks and balances, where have we failed to keep our consumer interests on top?
I think that the first and foremost requirement of any multinational company or any other company for that matter is that there should be absolute transparency, in the way that they are working. So anything that has been added, that should have been absolutely made clear to the consumer that what is the kind of sugar intake that the baby is going to be taking. And having said that, I think that, and as the previous speaker also said, that a company like Nestle, a very well-known company, one would have expected it to be more consumer friendly and more consumer responsible. And at the same time, there have to be proper checks and balances even on the part of our Indian government. And we do have parameters to determine that what is the right amount of additives that can be added to any product. And I think that, had this been made very clear right in the beginning by the FSSAI, then this problem would have not arisen, and this it would have been nipped in the bud. So now what has happened is that since at the right time this was not made clear, then this problem has occurred, and it is the consumer ultimately who is a sufferer, and the consumer is entitled to value for money as well as
Yes,
absolute transparency in whatever he or
yes.
she is buying.
But
So
Rekha
should,
Agarwal,
and especially
yes,
concerns baby food,
yes.
so one
It's
is
very
much more
importantly, it's
vulnerable.
about baby food. But the issue of sugar
Yes.
content in food products, Rekha Agarwal, is not for the first time. Earlier, we had Cadbury's Bonvita also step into the media glare for the same kind of issue.
Yes.
Why is it such a recurring problem, and how can it be corrected as we get more and more conscious about what we consume?
I think that, as our the Department of Food and Consumer Affairs in our own country, has started this project which is called Jago Grahak Jago, which means that the consumer himself has to be aware of his and her own rights. So, having said that, I feel that uh, one cannot just absolutely bank upon the supplier or the manufacturer, when we buy any product. And I think that since what has happened is that these big companies, are taking the consumer for granted. I mean, it's a fancy company, it's a big company. So you just see the name of the company and you buy the product. So they are encashing upon the confidence levels that we have in them. So once we are being exploited in this manner, I think that it is for the consumer himself to wake up, just not expect everything on a platter. You yourself have to be aware of your rights. You have to be vigilant yourself. So, as in the case of Cadbury's, also, Bonvita, which is a food supplement, supposed to be a healthy food supplement for growing children, and the amount of sugar content in that, which was absolutely misleading. So, not only was the company misleading in its statements, but even the number of advertisements that were being shown in the media, particularly the on the TV, it was being having a big effect on the consumers. Now, again, where baby food is concerned, I think that just when you see the name of the company, you just close your eyes, and any mother or a father would pick the product, from the shelf or order it online. So I think that it is high time that the consumer just does not sit back. I mean, especially a
But is
literate
enough
consumer. I can
information
expect
being
an
given?
illiterate consumer.
Does the consumer have enough information before him or her when he or she decides to make that choice to pick up a certain packaged product or not? Suman Agarwal, Nestle, for one, is saying they have been gradually reducing sugar content from their products. One question is, why are we looking at a graded reduction at as far as the Indian market is concerned, but also in terms of that information being available to consumers? Is it readily and clearly seen by consumers?
See, why they are reducing it gradually is because if the child is hooked onto a sugary cerelac, sugary cereal, they will not easily take to the non-sugar food because they have already been addicted to it. So there could be having that reason. Okay, and the amount of sugar is clearly mentioned at the back of their product. They are absolutely they're being responsible about that. So basically, this has to be being healthy and having a healthy country and having India diabetes free, or with a better health for everyone. It is a three-way approach. A consumer has to learn to read the label. The companies who are producing food or giving food in packaged form, they have to be more responsible instead of trying to only concentrate on making money. And the thirdly, of course, the government has to have a stringent rule about these things. Our government and FSSAI has come a long way, and we are coming out with more rules and regulation, and I'm sure they're going to step it up as we are talking, as they know that we are also, many companies have been put down in past and also write down where they have violated the rules and regulations. So I think everyone is working together, and these kind of controversies are very good because everyone gets aware. Everyone who sees the program,
Yes.
even the mothers and the doctors, they know that they have to put this food down, and children don't require sugar is the most important message to go to the mothers, that they don't require sugar.
Right.
In fact, once you get them addicted to this, is a problem.
Yes, and weaning away from that kind of addiction to sugar, like you said, sometimes is even higher than alcohol. That is in itself a warning bell when you start off that early. We are talking about baby products at the end of the day at this point. Thanks very much for joining us with your perspective, ladies. And of course, we will keep tracking developments in this story to keep our viewers abreast of how we move and how stringency of laws has a role to play in times to come.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.